Previous and next navigation buttons is a new feature that has been added to ToolKit 6.6. Got a tool open, it's got 3 pages in it. I'm going to add a couple of navigation buttons to the first page, and I'll name them previous and next. Alright, now you'll notice in the properties there's now a navigation category editor in the properties of the navigation button, and there's an action property within this category editor. Previously you could only navigate to a page with a navigation button. Now there's 3 different actions. You can navigate to a page, or you can navigate next or previous. So we'll set this to previous. We'll set this guy to next for its action. And then I'm going to go ahead and share these buttons across all the pages like you would in a wizard. And so now we have next and previous on each one of the pages. So if I now go to run mode, you'll notice that the previous button is disabled because there's no previous page in the hierarchy, and the next button is enabled. So if I hit the next button, it'll take me to page 2 and then to page 3. And you'll notice the next button is now disabled because there's no more pages to go to, and the previous button takes me back. So just like in a wizard, you can now add next and previous buttons. We do handle visibility, so I've set the visibility configuration on page 2 to be tied to a Boolean. So I will go to page 1 and add that Boolean so I can turn it on and off. Now if I go to run mode and disable page 2, so it is no longer in the hierarchy, if I hit next, it'll take me straight to page 3, it'll skip page 2 and back again, and then if that page becomes visible again, the next button will take me to page 2, and so on. So it automatically knows if a page is shown or hidden, and it skips to the next page for you, or the previous page for you. Now if I add hierarchy into my pages, so let's add a new page under page 1, we'll call it page 1.1, and let's share the next and previous buttons to that page as well. Now you will see when I go to run mode that if I hit the next button, it actually navigates down into the page hierarchy. So it'll go to page 1.1, and then if I hit the next again, it'll come back up out of the hierarchy going to page 2. And so the next and previous, you can have them work within the page hierarchies just like in a flat list of pages. Another feature added in ToolKit 6.6 around page navigation is the ability to share page navigation buttons across views and have them point to different pages, have them navigate to different pages. I've got a tool open here. I'm going to add a navigation button, and I will have this navigation button navigate to the second page of the tool. And again, within the properties of the navigation button, there's now a navigation category editor. I've got the action set to page, but now for each view that this navigation button is shared to, it will now give me the ability to select which page within that view I want to navigate to. So I'll select page 2 within this view, and now if I go to run mode, it'll go to page 2. But let's say you've released a new version of your product, you need to make a new view. So I'm going to make a shared copy of this view. Okay. And now in the second view, if I go to this navigation button, you'll see now in view 1 I go to page 2, and view 2 I go to page 2 as well. All's fine with that, but let's say we need to make a change on page 2. Right now I have to unshare this page in order to make a change to it. And in previous versions of ToolKit, at this point that navigation button would no longer navigate in view 2 to page 2. I'm going to rename the page just so it's easier to see that this is no longer a shared page. I can add other components to this page. And so since it's not shared with view 1, it's now a completely different page. But if I go back to the navigation button on page 1, you'll see now that it automatically hooked into the second page when I unshared that page in view 2 and assigned the navigation button in view 2 to point to the page in view 2. You could also change this to point to a completely different page if you wanted to in different views. So we solved a real critical problem for people that use multiple views and do a lot of sharing, that you can now handle navigation buttons, and if they're shared across views, you can handle which page they navigate to within those views. Hopefully this will help you guys out a lot with your tool development. We hope that the new improvements to page navigation buttons will help to increase your productivity and decrease the amount of time you need to develop tools, as well as make the tools a little less complex.